Okay, so we're gonna be black, and white's gonna go here on d4,
I'm gonna go d5.
d5. I'll allow it. Now let's say white wants to attack your pawn and pressure it. So he decides to attack it right away.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna defend it with a pawn and probably my c pawn, so c6.
c6. Do you have any idea of what this is called?
Queen's gambit declined.
Close, close. The queen's gambit declined is actually this pawn, but so it's
Okay,
super similar. This one is actually going in the Slav direction.
Slav. Okay.
The only reason that names are important, obviously, it doesn't matter what you call something. It's just that as humans, it makes it a lot easier for your brain to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like if as soon as I say, caro-kann or Slav, your brain knows exactly the starting position. But if I speak in terms of like moves, e4, d5, c6, your brain has no idea what to do with that information.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot easier just to name things. As much as you can get familiar with the names, the easier it will be for your brain to switch between the information. Um, so anyway, this is a totally normal move. A lot of people play it, and then he takes your pawn.
Yep. So I'm gonna take back with my c pawn.
What do you think of taking back with the queen?
I think then I'm gonna get hit by the knight.
Like this?
Uh huh.
That is correct. Taking with the queen is a very bad move. You definitely want to keep a pawn presence in the center, not
Yep.
only because he's going to hit it with a knight, but because one day he's going to have the pawn duo and you won't be able to stop him. So you take back with the pawn, and now he'll never
Mm-hmm.
have the pawn duo because you can always take.
Mm-hmm.
And pawn duos are inherently strong as they're like barbed wire when they're side by side. Very effective. So now he says, okay, fair enough. We have a symmetrical position. Let me go h4.
Okay, that's interesting.
Do you think this is a good move, a bad move? How do you feel about it?
Probably a bad move. All his pieces are on the back row still.
So probably a waste of time, right?
Yep.
All right.
So I'm gonna probably bring my king knight out
Okay, well, let's say why the king's knight out and not, let's say, queen's bishop to f5.
because I want to get ready to castle as soon as I can.
Okay, makes perfect sense. So let's go with that. So now he says, okay, a4.
Okay. I'm saying is pretty crazy. Um,
Okay,
so I'd like to play e6, but I don't want to trap my bishop in, so maybe I'll develop the bishop now. Let's go bishop to f5.
bishop f5. Fair enough, but a second ago, you told me you developed this knight because you wanted to castle. So now you want to get it out before you play e6, before you.
Right.
Okay, so it's just like one extra step, let's say, to castling, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair enough. Your king doesn't seem to be in danger, so why not? White pushes the pawn, saying, your bishop's getting maybe in a little bit of a pickle.
Hmm. Yep. So here, I'll probably push that h pawn one just to blockade that pawn.
A little bit of h6 just to
Yeah,
blockade.
and give me a spot there if I needed that for my bishop. Yeah.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so now this guy says, I'm going to develop my rook and do a rook lift.
Okay. That looks good to me.
Is that a scary move to face?
No, nope, not at all. So I'm gonna move my e pawn then to e6.
So you can build your position while hitting the rook.
Yep.
What do you think of the idea of e5.
I don't like it because if he when he takes me back, he's gonna threaten my knight right away.
What do you mean takes you back? You mean if you push the pawn and he takes immediately?
Yeah.
So can he take? Is his rook hanging? Is that good for you or
Right.
good for him?
So if you follow it through, so he takes my pawn, I get his rook. He takes my knight. I guess I got to move my bishop. So it's a pawn and a knight for a rook.
So if you're not 100% convinced with your calculation or with what happens, then you just go for the safer move because
That's right.
you're not going to lose if you do
Right.
that.
I like that.
So I'm not even going to address whether that works or not. We'll just make this move
Okay.
because that's how that's what you should do in a practical game. But if you trust your answer and you're like, oh, this is either better or worse, then go with whatever you came up with. So
Hmm.
you go here and you're hitting his rook. He notices. He's gonna pressure your king side.
Okay. It's not no problems there. So I'll probably hit his rook with the developing move, bishop d6.
Bishop
Oh, just a
d6.
second now. You trying to trick me? Just a second. Just a second, oh boy. Just a second now.
You have to ask yourself, what's the threat,
Yeah, yeah. I don't like
or
that.
what's the
I'm,
idea at least.
I'm thinking again. I'm thinking again. Okay. Um, yeah. So I don't want to lose that pawn. So I have to rethink my situation here a little bit.
Do you have any free moves in the position?
Yeah, I've got a check, a couple different checks. Let's see if I put a check there. Yeah, then I can castle. That's a good idea. I like that. Let's do that one. Bishop b4.
So bishop b4. That is one potential free move. Do you see any other free moves?
Similar with the queen.
Hmm.
Is there another one? I
Perhaps the
guess that there was
best of all.
the best of
Well,
all.
not perhaps, definitely the best of all.
All right. I mean, there's a that knight to e4 is a good move.
That is a
Um,
good free move, yes. Does white have anything hanging?
yeah.
Can you tell me what it is?
Well, I mean, he's got his rook on h1 hanging
No, 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 okay, so the rook on h1 is loose,
loose.
meaning
Yeah.
it's undefended but not being
Okay.
attacked. So hanging is something that's undefended and
And
is being attacked.
so that means, yeah. What else is there?
So what piece are we hitting on of his?
Ever since
Oh, yeah. Now I see it.
yeah,
Yeah, that knight in the back row is hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's scoop
Dang
that
it.
up real quick.
Yeah, I'm on.
But now this guy says, aha, but now you have a loose piece. So I'm going to take here. And now what are you going to do? He says, I'm going to complicate the game,
Hmm.
hitting your
That's all right
bishop.
with me.
That's all right. Okay,
Uh,
okay.
yeah. So my first instinct is to take back that bishop with my rook, um,
Okay, like
and
this.
lose. Go. Yeah, let's do that.
And what do you assume his response will be?
He's gonna take me with his queen.
Like this.
Hmm.
And then you're happy with that position, right? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Uh, yeah, I think so.
Yep.
I'm
You're just
developing a piece.
okay. You're just winning. So let's go down that line. And now it's your turn again.
Okay.
So how do we think about this?
Um, I I'm thinking about king safety a little bit here and kind of messing up my castling plans. Um, but I've got a lot of good moves here
Well,
to pick from.
If you consider his pieces on a scale of 1 to 10, how much danger or urgency to castle would you give? With 10 being need to castle right away, 0 being I don't need to castle at all.
Probably about a 6, 5 or 6. Just because I see there's like a lot of late square diagonal there that if the queen got on or his bishop came out, I mean his bishop could hit that diagonal in 2 moves.
Okay, so let's assume his is that what did you give him? You gave him a 5 or 6.
Hmm.
That because he can be hit in 2 moves, couple light square things you're worried about. Okay, so now same scale. How do you rate White's king's urgency to castle? 0 to 10. Not
I
how
mean,
not how
put him
far
in.
away he is from castling, but how
Right.
important is it for him to castle?
I'd say yeah, it's very important because he's kind of wide open there.
And you said he could reach you in 2 moves. How many turns can you reach him in?
I can hit him right now.
And it's your turn right now, right?
Right.
So your urgency to castle is actually like a 1 or 0
Yeah.
maybe. It's just not needed at all.
Yeah.
And his king is just toast. It's just
Yeah. And I see a nice little fork action.
yeah. So what moves? Give me 3 candidate moves here. 3 logical
Okay.
moves.
Say queen a5,
Okay, that's one logical move.
bishop b4,
That's a logical move.
knight e4.
Exactly. You pick one of those, and you should have a playable position. Now, which one of these do you think gives you like better chances than the others?
Mm. Either the queen or bishop move. Um,
Why?
because the knight move, I mean, he can easily move that rook someplace and get rid of that threat.
Right. It's not as forcing, right?
Right.
Because you can do the bishop and queen move because it comes with check, and then hit the knight, the rook.
Yeah.
So it's the bishop. The checks are always going to be better. So let's pick
Yeah.
one. Just choose one of the pieces.
Yeah. The bishop. Let's try.
Okay. So we choose the lesser value piece. He's in check. Mm, okay, let's move so we don't hang up something.
Okay. Yeah. Now that knight move is pretty powerful because it comes with not only a threat but also a fork there, potential on f2. Yeah.
Exactly. So is that your
So
move?
um, if I do that, the only thing is I'm going to drop that pawn I forgot about again. Uh huh.
How do you value that? Is that an important pawn or not an important pawn?
It's only important in the fact that if he then goes to g8, I'm going to lose my queen.
So let's take a look at that. We put our knight here.
Hmm.
He takes the pawn,
Yeah.
but it's but
I
it's
want to
not
take.
his turn. So it's your turn. So is there
Yeah.
anything you can do that maybe you like in that position?
Yeah. I mean, I could take that pawn we talked about and put him in check.
Hmm.
Um,
And his king can approach the knight,
right.
so you never have to worry about it being loose. And wherever
Yeah.
the king goes on the other side, then you can address his rook being here, which is completely meaningless
Yeah.
because he's about to get checkmated. Because once you
Okay.
take this pawn, his king is forced onto the c file, which happens to be open. Your queen
Yeah.
happens to be ready to go there. So even
Yeah.
without calculating, you just assume the game's over. Even if this was a rook and he takes a rook instead of a pawn, it shouldn't make a difference. Um, for example, this rook in the corner we're not using, and we can end the game without it. So
Mhm.
material and time are interwoven throughout the game of chess, and time is the harder aspect to understand and get skillful with.
Yeah.
But anyway, we said, what did you? Okay, you said you're gonna go in.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay, but now let me. Can I complicate this at all? I feel like you know what. Let's go down this line because I didn't
Okay.
actually tell you the answer. So
Okay. So let's go ahead and take the pawn with check.
okay, now I'm gonna go here though.
Okay. So I don't want to just take that rook right away because then I could get. Well, I still can move my bishop back if I needed to.
Your
So
bishop. What does your bishop have to do with anything right now?
well, I'm still looking at that. If that rook to g8 move, I don't want to lose my queen.
Oh. Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, I mean here I would probably put him in check with my queen. Let's see. I don't know if it matters. I guess I'll do c7 just to get rid of that alignment issue with my king.
So when you're trying to decide and you're not doing it through the means of calculation, which I usually don't. And I just try to make observations. Why would one square potentially be better than another? And I'm looking at this. The alignment is definitely one issue. So I would definitely go queen c7. What's another potential reason I would want it on this square?
So we got a dark square bishop, so I might somehow end up with a battery of some sort.
Well, yes. I mean, forgetting about the bishop just as a whole, the queen here is stifled by its light pawns, but the queen
Hmm.
here has potential to move around
There you go.
with
Yep.
different checks and stuff. So it does coordinate with the bishop, but it's more just about mobility in general. That plus the alignment issue would make me pick queen c7. Now as white, I'm going to go here because I have no
Hmm.
legal moves.
Okay. So
So do you feel confident in this position as black? Do you think it's like a three result game, anyone can win, or how do you see this?
no, I'm definitely ahead because I'm going to trade queens and then I'm going to get that rook in the corner.
So
So I'll be up.
so totally winning
uh,
for black.
Yeah,
Okay, so and you feel confident converting this against even a stronger opponent because it's so winning?
I'm probably not you if you were trying.
No, I mean there has to come a point in the chess
Yeah,
game where even against a grandmaster, you're like, I'm gonna win this. Like maybe it's
yeah.
just like rook and king against king, but
That
it's
yeah, that I could do.
well, that's what I'm saying. There comes a point where like the wins keep getting there's a point where you can beat them, and you have to find like
Yeah.
where your cutoff is. What is it that you need? Like it's all mostly based on like the end game knowledge, which end games
Hmm.
you understand are winning. But I mean, if you're up like an entire army, you can beat anyone generally.
Right. I mean, I feel like if I'm up a piece, I'm feeling pretty good about
Right.
about
So
winning.
if you take the queens here and pick up the rook, you're up
Yeah,
7 points of material,
yeah.
and there's no queens for your opponent to try to complicate the game. So you should be
Okay.
able to convert this against, I don't know, a lot of people probably.
Yeah.
Um, and if you can't for some reason, I don't know where the button is, but there's a button like play this against the computer, and you could keep playing that position over and over,
Mm.
trying to like better figure it out.
Yeah. I
You
need
can
to
even
find it.
switch colors and then see how the computer beats you. But
Okay.
basically, you want to get confidence at some point. Like you want to know when you're winning as much as you can, when you're up a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
So okay, so white's kind of dead here.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna make a random move, just to
Okay.
see like how your logic is in converting a win like this, which may seem somewhat chaotic since things are everywhere.
Yeah.
So what do you do as black?
I think I need to get that other rook in the game. I mean, I know there's pawns I could take, but
Yep,
um,
that's correct.
so I'll probably play knight c3 or c6. I mean, I know that he can play that rook down, but I can put my bishop back.
I will play that. You will go back, and then I'll
Yeah.
develop my knight.
Okay. Um, so I'll probably line my rook up. Yep, to the king. Hmm.
It's exactly where your rook belongs, and I'll say, um, let's blast open the position. Let's complicate it
Okay. So now I'm gonna take um, on d4 with check.
with the knight.
Hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and trade pieces here.
Okay, I'm gonna move my king to a square that's legal.
Okay, so let's take his knight just to simplify without thinking too much.
Okay, black's turn again.
Okay. I'd like to trade rooks if I could. Let's see.
Do you have any free moves?
Let's see. Yeah, I can get my knight out of the corner. Let's do that. That's a good idea.
And what if he hits your knight with the king?
I've got squares to jump.
So you want to make that move?
Let's see. If he hits me, I can go there. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna attack you again.
Okay. Let's go to D1.
And then, I mean, this is a good square. It gives a check. I'm gonna move forward. And what's your idea?
My idea was pick up free stuff there.
The pawn?
And yeah, let's do it. I'm playing faster than I normally would here.
Yep. That makes sense because this you should play faster when it's an easier win like this. White takes like this,
Hmm.
and white's completely losing, so it doesn't really matter what white
Yeah,
does. So you shouldn't be worried about it.
right. I'll probably move my king up to E7 just to break that little pin there.
In effect, you can consider all of white's moves completely random and feel no pressure at all. Check.
Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and take back with the king.
Take back with the king. Okay, now I'm going to give you control of the black pieces. So now you're able to move black. I'm going to play white down 9 points of material and try my hardest. Okay?
Come on now.
No. There's no way I'm winning. That's not the point of this. The point is to show you that even against someone that you may think is stronger, but it makes no difference how strong they are because the only thing that matters is the position on the board, and the position on the board. So winning doesn't matter if Magnus is sitting across from me in tons of positions. If it's winning, it's winning. So that's what you need to kind of feel in certain things. So here you're up 9 points. So you're up a rook, a minor piece, and a pawn. Even if I want to create counterplay, I only have these two pieces. So as long as you just look out for my moves with two pieces, there's no way to lose, right? Um, and if you
You're
happen,
setting me up here, man.
I'm not setting you up. It's a terrible position for white. I mean, look at the evaluation. If I put it on, it's plus. Look at the bar. It's plus
You're
80.
making it worse.
No. Okay, so I'm white. If I flip the board, then you guys are probably gonna see it upside down too. So I'm gonna keep black's perspective and just play upside down. Um, I
You
wish
might
I
as well
had.
put one hand behind your back too while you're at it.
I do. I wish I had a dark square bishop, but I have a light square bishop. So this is so bad. I have no moves. Okay, let's try this.
Okay.
And now I'm not going to help you, and you have control over the black pieces, so you can move them.
All right.
Now, before you make a move, what's the zoomed out logic of the position? What's like the higher level understanding of what you're trying to do as black?
um, I mean, I'd like to simplify further if I could trade rooks.
Right, so a rook trade is basically an instant win, right?
Yeah.
So just in any line on all of your turns, anytime you see potential like forced rook trade or anything like that, those are your candidate moves, right? So if
Right.
it's a lot better than just looking randomly at the board. So any type of trade, whether you take the bishop or the rook, is going to be in your benefit. So that's just like before you start looking for moves, you need to know that. Okay, now you can, scan the board and do stuff.
Okay. So obviously my knight's hit. I could protect it, not very easily. Doesn't have that many good squares to go to.
Is this a good square for your knight?
No.
So you wouldn't even like inherently you wouldn't even want to protect it. Your first instinct would be to move it, right? To improve it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
let's see if you can do that before you defend.
Oops. I don't know what happened. I moved it and it bounced back. Oh, there we go. Nope. It doesn't like that move.
Are you making an illegal move? Because I don't see what you're trying to do on the board.
I'm trying to move my knight to c4.
Oh,
That should be legal.
I gave you play as black control.
Yeah.
It's weird
I
that
can
didn't.
move it, but then it bounces it right back.
For reference, I try to move it. It doesn't even look. So something doesn't look right.
Oh no, I have to specifically let the people. I have to click a button that says play as white, play as black. So I just gave Mike both access to try to move any of the. Oh, you see, someone just moved it.
That was me. Yeah. So before you gave me access, it didn't even. I was just wondering if I tried to move it, if it would like go and snap back, and it doesn't. It doesn't do that. But he gave me control.
Okay.
It says that you've given me full control of the board.
Yeah. It just I thought maybe that would change something. Can you move? Try to move a piece?
Well, now it's your move.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What if I go back?
it says you can play. I gave you black and white, so
Oh,
so move anything.
Oh, you only
I
move
just
one of your pieces?
yeah, yeah I just want to see if it works. Okay, it
Yep.
works. Okay, okay, okay. So you're gonna go here. I'm going to.
Why you trade?
I'm gonna pin you.
Okay. I'm gonna.
Someone's got that old school TV static.
I'm just gonna.
Sorry, there's too much static coming through. Um, Only because I'm recording this for YouTube. He moves up. Hmm. Good move. Good move. I wish I had like I don't know, one more piece would be nice. I guess. Let's go here. So I'm just trying to move whatever pieces I have left, which is not much.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, never mind.
And now you're completely winning. So if he removes it with a check, I'm going to go here. And Puzzle Rush paid off. That's the tactic you needed to find. Now do you feel confident that you're going to win this game?
Yes.
No matter what?
No matter what.
Even against Magnus Carlsen?
Yes. Easy to say.
What do you mean? You have a whole army.
Yep.
He can't even legally checkmate you with this stuff left. Like you would literally have to purposely go in a corner, blunder all your pieces on purpose. Like it's impossible.
All right.
All right, so
So I think we're good.
now you know we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna put this game in the trash bin. You win this one, I forfeit, and let's switch perspectives and see a different rating. And we're gonna try to bring Mike on the scene.
All right.
All right, let's switch it up. Mike, hello, hello,
hello. Thank you.
welcome. So on chess.com Rapid, can you remind me of around what your rating is?
Chess.com Rapid is in the 900s,
900s.
under 1,000.
Yup, perfect. So that's a really good perspective to get. Um, do you play specific openings or?
Yeah. So I haven't been serious about chess until about 18 months ago. And the only wide opening I've tried to learn is the Jabava London because everybody on YouTube thinks that is the bomb.
Now that is a good opening for you to learn. When I studied it, I was like, I think I used it to go from 1600 to like 1750 chess.com at the time. Um, and yeah, it was good. It was fun. It has its ideas. I learned all about the pawn storm, and it's definitely worth learning. I know I make fun of this stuff, like, oh, caro-kann, Jabava London, but realistically, people don't have, endless time to study chess openings, and there's just way too much to learn. And,
Right.
you know, so it's totally makes perfect sense to learn, especially an opening like caro-kann, which with limited time probably is one of the better things to pick. So is it Jobava London and caro-kann or just Jobava London?
Yeah, so interesting. So it's Jobava London, and you said you used it to go from like 16 to 1750. I used it to go from 700 at your default on chess.com to 800 to 700 to 800, 850 to 700. And that's because I was trying just line memorization, right? And so then I was same thing was with caro-kann. I seemed to win more with caro-kann than when I was white. But since watching you, I started picking up because I like the way that your mind works and the way that you're teaching, and you taught the Philidor. So I switched to the Philidor, and that's kind of what got me up into that 950 range because I know a couple of good moves early, and then I know concepts, and then I know piece uh, uh, safety and checks, captures, threats, and what is the meaning of their last move. And I started thinking that, and I do not have like I bought a uh, caro-kann class. And man, I tried to memorize right everything that goes out through anything you could do through the first 10 moves to get to a winning position on it. And I would say I play better with the Philidor just because of I don't have it polluted with memorized lines like 10 deep on all these options.
I don't even know 10 moves deep on my openings. Yeah, no, it's serious. 10 is a lot. Like that's really deep for, non-professionals. So that's why it's really hard to learn openings. There's just too many branches. And even if you learn the caro-kann, it's like they could throw anything at you, and then
Right.
you can't use any of that.
Yeah, if they don't do like the top eight in the course where I, do this and this and this, even then there's ones where, oh, you have to kind of abandon the caro-kann when they do this.
Right.
And so those memorizations are hard. Whereas if you just say, what is my goal? What is the meaning of their last move? What are they threatening? That has just raised me up a lot more. All right, enough rambling from me.
All right. No, no. I think it's important to talk about openings just in the sense that you shouldn't invest too much time in them because they're not going to increase your chess understanding. You need to be
Correct.
you need to I mean collect as much chess knowledge as is fun and entertaining for you, but as far as getting better with your time, it's your thought process you want to work on because your opponent can throw anything at you and you need to be able to respond to their last move, whatever that is. And okay, if they happen to play the best move, that's where openings come from. They're not just random
Right.
things. The openings are just the best
Right.
moves in different sequences. So let's say white starts with this move.
Yeah. So part of me would want, can I undo moves? Like if I do a
Oh,
move?
hold on, let me give you
Like
control. Oh, wait, and I gave you control, right?
it looks like I have control. Yeah. So like I might just want to launch into the Philidor. However, he's done nothing to stop me from taking the center. So if I click back, is it literally like an undo? So I guess I would, I don't know, maybe make a move of the Philidor that might be there anyway.
Okay, I mean, yeah, there are two ways to play. There's the let me try to get the structure I'm familiar with, and
Yeah.
that's great. That's actually one strategy when you're trying to learn chess and climb. That's why the London system is so popular because it's a nice go-to to try to just learn a little bit at a time. So that is a thing to do. So you could do that. You could create this pawn chain. There's nothing wrong with that. You can also try to base your chess, all of your chess, just around these four squares, and then based around that, you always know what your move is. So without any memorization. So essentially, there are these two squares, and for new players, I do not recommend putting three pawns in the center ever, like
Right.
or four. Definitely not four, and definitely not three. The advantage of only one pawn in the center let me flip the board, is that it can be supported by the two pawns like this. And that makes such a stable point that your opponent can never collapse it. That's why the London is so annoying, because it has two pawns supporting one point, right? So
Mhm.
that's just a super solid structure. The downside is it's not very ambitious. It doesn't take a lot of space, as much as two. It doesn't control as many squares in the enemy camp. So it's just a little, that's why people make fun of the London, because it's not ambitious. So when you have two pawns in the center, this is the maximum I would tell you to put as a newer player. Um, because if you put any more, you're going to end up losing those pawns. They're very hard to maintain. With two, the upside is it controls a lot of squares, um, and gives you a lot of space, opens your bishops. The downside is you no longer can support these with two pawns like you used to be able to, which means
Yeah.
that it's just not as solid. Now the C pawn, you often can push this one and support. And okay, it's supported pretty well. But this pawn, you're not likely to push your F pawn because it's weakening to the king. So already you have one semi-loose pawn that you need to defend with pieces. And even this guy with one support point can easily be undermined in the future. So that's why if you want to be super safe, you put one thing in the center and you support it like crazy. Um, but if you want to be a little more principled, you can stick to two and learn to defend it properly with your pieces. So that's like the framework to start your openings without memorizing. So when your opponent does this move, I guess now I'll flip it back. Instead of going into a familiar structure, which is fine, you can also try responsive chess, which is just based around the center and based around development. So because the center, we're asserting that it's the most important part of the board. It's the high ground. Um, if he makes a random move and doesn't stop you from putting something in this, I would put your pawn in the center. Now, if he makes another random move, you could just support it once, and that's solid. But I suppose that the pawn duo principle would say that you need to play this move. If you think of it in this way, your decision's already made for you by your principle of
Yeah.
center. It's like the choices are already there of what you're going to do because you're only playing around the central principle. So there's nothing to think about or deliberate or should I do this or that because there's only one right answer and it would have to be this. And then if your opponent attacks the pawn, here's another thing. Okay, for newer players, you always have the potential to kick a knight, but by pushing pawn duos, you're creating weaknesses. I don't talk about this in my videos. In my videos, I say if you can kick a knight, you should always consider it. And that is correct. You should. But as a newer player, pushing this pawn creates holes like right here, which your opponent can exploit. And you kind of loosen up your position a little bit. And so for a newer player, I think it's more important to focus on the concept of building, like you're building a city. This is my little city. I want to build it up before I invade. So instead of thinking about the invasion, which a higher rated player might throw in, I would have stay away from moves like that early phase before you're castled. Once your king is castled, then you could be more adventurous in the position. Despite what you see me do in my own videos, maybe I do a little early attacks, but that's a different story. Um, so if he attacks this and hits your pawn, what would you do here?
Yeah, so there's the principle of don't defend a pawn with a piece if you can defend it with a pawn. And so I'd probably look for f6. And that's
Okay.
also not really blocking piece development. It does take a square away from my knight,
Okay,
but there's
so
other ways to get the knight out.
that is one principle, but a much more important opening principle, since we're still in the
Yeah.
opening, is
I can't disappear that. There we go. Thanks.
do not move your f pawn in the opening.
Gotcha.
Now
Because of the weakening of the king.
it does weaken the king. Um, it weakens this whole diagonal. It may not
Yeah.
seem relevant right now, but this check can be very annoying in the future. But it's not just that, it's also just this square is the best square for the knight, and you're going to see that when you put your knight here or here, your development becomes very slow and clunky. And if your opponent's development's fast and efficient, you're just going to be tangled up and with weird piece development. And we can try to show that by keeping this on the board. Um, but there's nothing wrong with defending pawns with pieces when we're talking about the opening and the center, because you're bringing up pieces with development.
Right.
I think the principle you said it more applies to like you're in a middle game, you have some random pawn hanging on the side, you don't want to dedicate a rook to it. Like okay, that's just a different context. But in the opening, I'm more than happy to bring out this knight and defend this pawn. I don't look at it like a burden, like, oh man, now my knight has to do this. No way. I'm developing it actively towards the center, countering what he's doing. Great move. That's how I would see it.
Right. Because it's defending that pawn, but also that's kind of its job early in the game is to get out, get developed, have a presence in the center, and very specifically that pawn that is under attack. That's not considered like a weakness.
Right. No, no, no. This pawn duo is strong as long as you don't blunder it, and it should be hard to blunder it because you have so many resources to defend it, and he doesn't have more than you to attack it with. So the only way he can take these is if you mess, like you just blunder it somehow. But I mean, like if he can't add so much pressure that you can't defend it. Like this pawn, you have your knight, your bishop, your queen. That's already three nice placed pieces that defend this pawn. He can't attack that four times with four pieces. Like it's just not realistic. So building up behind your center is just strengthening your city, your own little fortress that you're trying to build. And the most important thing with your fortress in the opening, the castle that you're building is a pawn presence. So you want at least one pawn in the center. Whether you put this pawn here or here is fine, but make sure you have this guy on the fifth. And then once you have that, you need to get your pieces out, your army out, or you're going to get slaughtered. So you want to make piece moves, as many as you can, after you get a couple pawn moves out. Once your bishops are open, try to move your pieces more than your pawns. You want to play with your pieces and leave your castle walls as still as possible, as motionless as you can, unless he does something dumb. But we're more than happy to bring out a piece and defend.
All right, so the knight comes out. It's attacking the d pawn, but it's defended. So I don't necessarily need to defend that. Yeah, defended by the queen.
Yep.
I could bring out the knight to over defend, plus it's a good logical place for the knight and has additional center presence. So I guess kind of a no harm in that move, and there's good in the move.
Yep. And you should be ecstatic to play this. These are the two best squares for your knight. They hit all four squares in the center, as well as have these potential jumps that play a role in certain lines. But I mean, like I said, you're hitting all four just with the knights and with the pawns. He doesn't have a pawn presence. So if you look at this position, I talk about pawn presence. A lot of people, I really never hear talk about it, but the fact that we have these two pawns here and he doesn't is so significant, and people don't really realize that. So they'll look at this and be like, okay, what's the big deal? But if I turn on the evaluation, what do you think it's going to say?
Probably black is slightly favored, maybe half a pawn.
So we turn it on,
Yeah,
and that's a not
closer
not
to
bad,
one.
not bad, closer to one. But yeah, I mean, the engine says it's zero point 0.8, but humanly speaking, I would plan on winning this game. Like, okay, it's not winning
Yeah.
immediately, but the fact that I have these two pawn pushes, which I would be calculating right now as much as I can to just win immediately. We're not going to go that route, but I'm just saying that pawn presence gives you those possibilities where you can just win the game right away. That's why it's so important to have one to stop your opponent from steamrolling you. That's the whole idea. Okay, so we developed this knight, and I love black's position. So white wants to, well, let's go with this one. Oops, let me turn off the eval.
Cool. All right, so he gets a pawn presence in the center.
Yep.
It's defended twice, and I'm attacking it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I could, I guess, press the issue, but since I guess I don't see a benefit to that right away, I also think about pushing that e-pawn. Yeah, because it can be attacked by the knight, but I defend by the knight, and that's not a good trade for white.
So what would white do if you push the pawn, do you think?
Need to move the F knight
Right.
out of the way, and
Okay.
whether that's a forward jump or a return.
So do you think pushing is like, good for black? It's just like whatever. You're doing it only because you don't want to trade. Do you really like it? How do you feel about this move?
Um, I like it because it's aggressive. I don't think White's plan would be to move that knight if I didn't put the pawn there. And any jumps that it has doesn't really have any threats for me. I mean, it would attack a defended knight is the best that he could do. So I think
Right.
I would push it.
Right. Pushing is a very strong move. It locks down the center. Whenever you have this center with this queen's pawn, it's extremely important to see if your opponent can push the C pawn and create that C and D pawn duos. The C and D pawns, they're best friends, they're neighbors, they love each other. They always want to be side by side, C and D, in queen's pawn openings. What does that
Mhm.
mean? That means if they move this pawn first, the queen's pawn instead of the king's, that's the queen's pawn opening. They want the side by side. Here, his knight's in the way. That means that this is just a really bad version for white because he can't do the thing he needs to do. That makes this pawn push extremely strong because in order to undermine this pawn chain, he would have to get in this move to attack the base. But he can't because his knight's in the way. So this is a stronger than usual pawn push. And a detail is he pushes the pawn here. So let's say he doesn't do that and just makes a random move, and then we push. Do you see the big difference?
Yeah, he hasn't committed to the center, so he hasn't made it so that his C and D pawns can't be buddies.
Is this pawn push better in this line or worse than the other version?
Um, I mean, it still has the benefit where we're attacking his knight, and that pawn is defended twice. Um, but oh, his no, that wouldn't work either. I was gonna say his knight could jump to D4, but then we've got that attacked, and he doesn't have it defended.
Right. So
Um,
so it would work here
I
too.
yeah,
Okay. But if this pawn wasn't here and he could jump here, then we wouldn't want to do this. Right? You see that?
right,
So we wait for him to put his pawn on this square so he can never have that resource. And then in my videos, I say, I use the phrase late to the party. When they're late to the party pushing, that gives us the extra possibility of pushing past. In this case, that's a very strong move. He's late to the party. The problem of being late to the party is that if he started with this on his first turn of the game, and then we got the pawn here, he could just trade. But because he's coming here late, we get to push, and he doesn't get the trade. So that's
right.
why it's bad to be. I mean, that's why I always talk about the pawn presence. You want to be first. Um. So anyway, we hit the knight. He goes here.
Gotcha. I could look at, or let's see. Don't see what I'm going to do first. Say what he did. So he moved in, has a piece on my side of the board.
Exactly.
It's not really threatening. It'll capture my knight on on C, but I can recapture with the pawn. Maybe that's not best because now I've got double pawns, but I do have an open B file. So maybe I want to look at another developing move. Let him waste the tempo taking my knight instead of me spending it taking his. Plus, when he recaptures, with his D pawn, now I've got a knight under attack. So he gets to capture that with tempo. Um, so those are the thoughts. It looks like castling kingside. I'm one move away, so I might bring the bishop out. And I've got a pin available on the knight.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. So let's talk about that. So you evaluated that knight takes knight, pawn takes isn't worth, making a specific move over, that the doubled pawns aren't that big of a deal. You have an open B file and it looks fine for you. I like that decision. I would also just add that that doubled pawn noticeably defends the pawn, which frees up your pieces, no longer having to defend your center. Um, I would just throw that in. Your move, I like it because it castles quickly. Um, I would ask you if your opponent goes here, are you planning on trading? And then I would ask you, did you have that answer before you made the move?
Yeah, that's something because of my Jobava background. I am very aware of the night pins and when you want to get up there and to think about that. So I would not take here. I might take if he had already castled queenside and doesn't have a way to recapture without blasting his pawn from in front of his king. So if he were to attack, then I would just slide back to a5.
Okay, do you think that your bishop here is better than your bishop here or worse
Yeah,
or
so the
equal?
argument on I would say the gut response would be equal because even though he can then chase it with a b4 pawn move, and then I dance back, and then he moves the knight. If I just go back to a5, I maintain the pin on the knight. If I go the other direction, bring it back to d6, I now have two pieces attacking his knight, so I could win a pawn in that case. So I have that option for me if I come back. So I would say, do I value maintaining the pin and forcing him to kind of give up castling queenside by chasing it? Or do I value an early like pawn? And it is, I guess it's a central pawn. So my initial thought, I guess, equal, but I think I'm talking myself into d6 being a better bishop move.
Okay, well let's look at it from a different perspective. You have a pin, but first let's figure out how do you decide, because there's, dozens of pins and dozens of different games and dozens of different
Yeah.
contexts. So then how are you deciding which pin is actually an effective pin, a dangerous pin, a useless pin? How are we going to determine that we like this pin or that it's not even worth making? What's the criteria?
Yeah. So I guess the absolute pin on the king is a nice thing to have. It completely immobilizes that piece, at least until he attacks my bishop. Um, Another nice thing about a pin is if that knight, if that piece that I'm pinning is attacking a square that I want to have control over, then having it pinned is a benefit to me. Like if he already had a pawn on f3,
Hmm.
and then he was going to look to attack my pawn, then I would retake with the f knight, and then he would retake with his c knight. He doesn't have that option when there's a pin.
Okay, so in this specific position, you're saying that this pin is pretty good for black or is pretty useless for black, or how do you see it?
I would say it's a strong pin because it is an absolute pin, but it's not like a particularly strong tactic because my next few moves aren't going to be to move into or support the squares that that knight kind of no longer supports because of the tactic. So I would say it's an average to above average pin, but it's not like a tactically winning one.
Okay, I'm gonna blow your mind.
Oh, here it comes. Here it
Here,
comes.
I'm gonna blow your mind. I mean, just the way I see it, it looks like a completely useless, really bad pin. And I'm only saying
Okay.
that, and I'm gonna explain to you exactly why, so that in all your future pins, you're gonna be like, oh, now I see. The first thing you want to look at with a pin, okay, I mean, the fact you said it's an absolute as opposed to relative, that's a good thing to notice. But that doesn't actually determine if it's a good pin or not. It's almost it's something you want to know, like so you can calculate the tactics properly. But that's not that doesn't mean anything because I'll show you. So the first thing you actually want to look at is the piece you're pinning defended by a pawn, and
Right.
it is. So first things first, the worst thing that you're ever gonna do is trade the piece and get a pawn and ruin his structure. But it's not even where he's castling, so it's and you're giving up a bishop, so it's not even a gain. It's just like a wash. Um, so it's not even a real threat, is what I'm saying. If it's defended by a pawn, but that's not the only thing you look at. That's just where you start. For example, if this pawn wasn't here and this was just hanging with the loose dark squares, it would be a much stronger pin right away before we look at anything else. But even then, in this specific case, the second thing you would want to look at is A, is it defended by a pawn? If yes, it's extremely stable. So then you have to look at the second thing, which is can I immediately bring in more pieces to add pressure? If you could jump this knight in here right away, and if you could go queen a5 right away, then I would say this pin is worthy because of the three different pieces. And even with those three, you have to imagine he jumps his knight in, he simply breaks the pin immediately in one turn and
Right.
protects, and then you lose any pin, any potential thing you thought you had, and then why is your bishop actually here?
Right.
Um, Another thing is can the piece that's pinning be immediately kicked away? So if he kicks it on his turn right away, I mean, and you don't want to take, if you go back this way, he can just break the pin. He can also, after kicking you, just put his bishop here and break the pin, and there's just no pin. Like it's that simple.
Right.
So it's
Right.
so it may at surface like okay, it's against the king, so maybe it's strong, but the real thing about a pin is it defended by a pawn? Number one, can you immediately add a ton of pressure? Number two, and can my stuff be kicked? Number three. Now you were mentioning, okay, do I want to use the squares that it's controlling? That's also matters, but that's like that was actually more high level strategic like advanced thinking after the first three basic things are set. So although what you said is true, like that's just for later. Let's worry about that stuff later. Let's focus on the simple
Sounds good.
stuff right now. Like a lot of the stuff you said so far shows like way beyond your level. Like I'm surprised you know a lot of the stuff. So I don't know what you're reading, but it's teaching you a lot of stuff. Um,
YouTube is a miracle tool.
yeah, I mean you have a good understanding of a lot of things based on what you said, which was nice. Um, but as far as this pin, you really just want to check, can I make use of it here? It's just not practical. Even once you see the bishop here, it's over. The pin's over. So I like this because it creates the threat of winning the central pawn. But we're going to continue with the pin. I'm just simply going to break it. I'm not, it's not like you lose the game because you pinned. It's completely and
Right.
totally playable. I'm just trying to show you the distinction on why I wouldn't play it.
All right, so he breaks the pin. Shucks, I don't have a great tactic right there. Um,
Hmm.
my thought is developing pieces, king safety. My king doesn't appear to be in any kind of danger. I guess the biggest danger is a gambit, and then I lose castling rights. But then he has nothing else to back it up. So what would be a good developing move?
Well, what does this threaten anything? His move, White's last move.
His piece doesn't currently threaten anything. He hasn't gained any more visibility on like the C1 H6 diagonal. It was a nice developing move for him, uh, but should he move his knight, it then opens up an attack on a bishop. But it's also a defended bishop with my knight. So I'd say no, I wouldn't
No, one
call that a threat.
that's the correct way to think. The only one thing I would add, which may be, I guess, tactically higher than it's a higher than a 900 level tactic, I guess, But you always have to watch out, and not forget about just this position. Just in general, something to keep in your mind is whenever you try these pins and they're not actually effective because he has a bishop countering you, they always have this weird tactic where they can take this pawn and defend backwards. I'm not saying it works. I'm just saying
Right.
they can grab this pawn, and then when you go to capture, they take back and end up a pawn, right? So that's
Right.
maybe you don't need to pay attention to something like that right now. I just wanted to mention it because it was on my mind. So he goes here, and then you wait. What was your move? I forgot.
I haven't said a move. I just kind of went through the thought process.
Oh, okay.
I could see maybe bringing the queen to e7 because that would put pressure on the knight, just like my bishop could have maybe in a better seat d6 move. It also keeps my position open to castle either direction, since my king isn't really in any kind of danger. Um,
That makes sense. I
I
think
don't.
it's a great move. I would just ask, how do you choose between, let's say, the queen development or, I don't know, a random bishop move, let's say?
Yeah, so bishop to f5 is another nice move. It's kind of blunted right now by my pawn, but it won't be forever. It's nice to get it in and developed. It's supporting that pawn right now.
Mhm.
So that would be a really good forward point um, on the move. Um, it's probably better to move a bishop because it is going to move on one of these two diagonals. It doesn't look like a fianchetto is wise in my future. So maybe getting it out um, to kind of either of those two squares, E6 or F5. Um,
Okay. Now, now maybe I was just baiting you into thinking it's good,
right.
right? So, what's the drawback of, or what's the benefit of bringing your queen out first?
It is a piece that I have not already moved that can apply pressure to the knight.
So, it creates an immediate threat.
It creates an immediate threat.
Right. So the bishop development, while makes a lot of sense, does not threaten anything. The queen move immediately threatens knight takes knight, pawn takes, queen takes, winning material. So that's a logical argument for queen. Now the engine may say this or that, but we're not engines and we don't care about the
Right.
computer, and I certainly don't. You just have to. It's all about making practical, decent decisions throughout the entirety of the game, while paying, being tactically alert, I guess. Um, so let's continue with your queen move, which I like. And I said, you know
Okay.
what? I don't want to lose the pawn, so let me just jettison my piece.
Gotcha. So he's got a fork. He's attacking two pieces. I can't just move one of them to save both the queen and, yeah, the forward bishop. So I'd go ahead and retake here.
Perfect. And do you like black's position or do you like white's position better?
Um, I like Black's position. The interesting thing, and I know he did waste those two early pawn moves, and that's why. But we've got three pieces developed to his two, which is not normal. Normally, White's going to be equal or ahead in development, and I don't really have any glaring weaknesses.
Right. So black is a lot better because one thing that you need to notice is these four squares. We
Oh,
have
right. I've got two
full
pawns in the
control.
center, and they're fully defended. Yeah.
And you have the space in his position that creates a bind that he can't really break out of. So um, I have to remember to just remind me after the game to do the boulder space thing. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, you took back, and now I'm gonna, let me just solidify, open my bishop, normal move.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that defends the central pawn, doesn't make a threat to me, and it opens up both his bishop and his queen for development. Although his queen doesn't have any safe squares along that diagonal except for right in front of the king. Um, so further development ideas for me. I don't have a developed bishop. Um, yeah, so the 900 brain, maybe it's the 700 brain I'm starting to quiet, and that gets me to 900. The bishop move out to g4 hits the queen. He can get kicked by a pawn, but I can attack with the pawn. But then he captures with his other pawn, and what have I gained? Because I then can't recapture, even though I have what almost looks like a fork.
Well, let's forget about his F3 move, right? Let's assume you bring the
Yeah.
bishop out, and let's assume he just blocks with his light
Oh,
squares.
right.
No, what do you think about that? Is that what you want? Is that you don't want that? How does that look?
Yeah, I would say I don't want that. Best case scenario, it looks like my move would either be to retreat the bishop or go trade it. But I'm the one that is using multiple tempi to go get his piece, and maybe it just helps him castle both directions when he recaptures with the queen. So that doesn't really have a beneficial move. So um, a better set of moves would be I probably don't want to get in front of my queen. There's no reason. Plus, my queen is staring at his king, so let's not remove that benefit from me. So maybe a bishop out to f5 or even just a real quiet d7.
Okay,
Um,
so what I'm hearing is you're not 100% sure on what to do with this bishop, yes?
oh, right. That's another good point. Is since I don't, there may be a better move later with that bishop. So maybe I want to do something that is a little more certain of a type of move that I'd want to make.
Give me two candidate moves other than moving this bishop that you think you're going to want to make in pretty much all scenarios.
Yeah, so I've weakened my pawns on the queen side, so I'd want to castle king side at some point. And the center is kind of closed, but I don't know if I want to go down that depth of strategy this early, so
No,
I
no,
don't see
simple
it
stuff,
a
simple
problem.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can
so we
castle, and there's
could.
one other kind of low-hanging fruit move that clearly improves one of your pieces and can't be a bad move.
Oh, right. Yeah, we talked about the benefit of taking the pawn on c6 was I could bring my
Exactly.
rook over.
Right, so castling is a move you know you want to throw in anyway. Rook b8, a move you know you want to make anyway. So you might as well throw this in because I
Yeah.
agree with you. Like, bishop d7 is kind of lame. This kind of blocks your queen a little bit. This doesn't make a lot of sense. This is kind of also not what you want because by wasting your turns to give him space, I mean, to free up his position, you're the one with space, so you want to keep as many pieces as possible so that he's cramped and doesn't have room for his guests. So, okay, so we move the rook over. Is there any reason you specifically picked it over castling, or was it just a random choice?
uh, yeah, so it turns out it's a bit faulty. I was saying it comes with kind of a hidden threat that if I were to now take the knight, uh, then a recapture of the bishop means that I now have visibility on that pawn. But two problems with that. That pawn is now defended by the bishop. Well, let's see if I can try to draw it. So if I take and then he takes, and I have visibility here, but then he could retake. And then, of course, the other problem is if I take, he has the option to just recapture with the pawn. And then I guess I have an open file.
Right,
But it turns out that there's no real immediate threat from this. I don't think.
right. But
Um,
it's clearly a superior square, right?
yeah, absolutely. This is a big improvement for it. There's no danger to my king right now. It's not like White has any kind of move that would have been like, oh shit, if I would have just castled last turn,
Right.
I'd be in better position.
So for new players, I don't know if you're new. I don't know why I keep saying that. I'm sorry. I keep saying new player. For, a 900 rated player, um, if you always want to castle in a position like this, you can't go wrong. But if you're like, okay, I'm trying to improve and be stronger, instead of just always doing the save thing, this move is more energetic. This move applies more pressure to your opponent. This move he has to calculate. This move is just a much better practical move. Even if the engine says they're equal, I would definitely make the developing move in a position like this where it's closed and there's, like you said, no even dream of an attack. So I like this move a lot. But now it's time to kick the bishop.
Gotcha. Um, so now I don't want to lose the bishop, so I'd like to move it. I don't like the retaking of the knight because of the quarter point difference, especially with no real differentiating thing here. That knight doesn't look like it's a particularly strong knight that would win me anything. Um, Bringing it back to D6 no longer has the benefit of hitting that knight because that's been removed. Um, but also putting it on the side of the board, there's no pin to speak of, so there's no benefit there. So yeah, I guess I would
What do you
propose
think?
bringing it
What do you
back.
think of D6 um, as a square in general in this position for this bishop?
It's central. It's on two pretty good diagonals. Um, if you were to join me, since I'm planning on castling kingside, if he goes kingside as well, then I'm looking right at that weak H2 square with some tactics in the future.
Mhm. And if you could
It just
pick,
seems better than A5 because
yeah,
all I've got is a not even a pin and he'll castle before I can make use of it.
I agree with you. If you could pick it up and place it anywhere, forgetting about the legality, on any
Right?
dark square, where would you put it?
Yeah, that looks like the best one because a lot of them is going to be under attack by a pawn, um, and that's the most central it can be without being attacked.
All right, this is an absolutely gorgeous square for the bishop, protected by its pawn chain, unharassable, and has full mobility because the pawns are on light. So although it's not, threatening to win pawns or something, I mean, it's about mobility in chess. Piece activity is one of the highest principles in chess. So this is an extremely active piece. And if you're not sure if a piece is active, all you have to do is count the number of squares that it pressures. That's like the simplest way to see how active a piece is. And when you do it like that, when you start highlighting stuff, you can see visually just how powerful a position is or isn't by how colorful it is. But yeah, you have really great piece activity here as black, compared to white anyway, which is pretty garbage. This bishop's decent, but actually is dominated, and it's kind of superficial. But anyway, white goes. He can't even move. White goes here.
That's too bad because one thing I was hoping maybe to do was look at the C5 push. So without that pawn there, that's nice. Um, that doesn't currently threaten anything. It does limit some of my options of queenside activity. Um, that's about it.
If you wanted
Um,
to prepare c5, how would you do it?
Wanted to prepare C5.
Like
How
let's
else
let's
could I
say he's like, you
protect
know what?
that? Oh yeah,
I'm gonna do it anyway. Like, how would you get it through?
I could bring the knight back to then pressure the square, so I could push. Oh no, because he's defending with two pawns.
Exactly.
I could, I guess I could come forward with the A pawn and threaten that. Although I guess then he leaves it there. I take, he takes, and I'm in the same. Oh, but then I do have like he takes. I
How,
just say things. It helps me maybe to see it, and then I've got this.
yeah, how many times is that pawn defended?
The pawn is presently defended once,
And if you push your
and if I
pawn,
move it there,
how many
it'd be attacked
attackers?
3 times.
Three
Yeah,
or three or how many?
one, two, three. Oh, then four.
Yup, toast.
The eventual fourth.
Yeah, that pawn will be the fourth, and it will just be toast. So if you did want to get
Yeah,
c5 through, if you determine that that's your best idea for whatever reason, you could force it through and deflect him and then play it. But that you would have to then look at, oh, I just gave this square to his knight, which is defended by the bishop, and hits this. Not that that's losing or anything, but you'd have to look at this before you decide you
right.
want to play c5. And then is that even necessary? Why give his piece of activity? So I was just showing you how to force it through, but that doesn't mean you want to
Right.
force it through. Because you do have
Right.
other moves that you know for sure will not collapse your position and can't be bad.
Exactly. So we still have the good old castle. And I would say I haven't learned anything more about this game that of where a better position for my light squared bishop is. So my next move here is probably the castle.
All right, excellent. Excellent, excellent. He wants to gain a little more space because he's cramped.
Yeah. So he's starting to crush down. My king is over there now. He wants to open things up. I could either push the H pawn up. I could wait till he gets there, then I push up, and then it's kind of a thorn. I can't presently take it because it's defended like twice. Look at that. Um,
So forgetting about,
so
aside from your move and your response, on a scale of 1 to
right.
10, how dangerous is this attack on your king?
Um, it's not threatening anything yet. He's only got one piece really in the game with it, but that queen is ready to come out and join in the party in various ways. I do have a lot of pieces around my king, though, so maybe it's not the most. Let's not forget this guy with all his visibility. Um, so I would say that in and of itself isn't where it's at right now. I'm not worried, but I might want to avoid him getting in here, forcing me to weaken my position, right? Because then like the miracle move, so he eventually comes in and bye bye.
Okay, so a couple things. The first is, sure, h6 might be, an excellent move, maybe the best move, fine. But I want to move away from moves and just do higher level
Yeah,
stuff because that will help you in all your games. So on a danger level, this is a 0 because a couple of reasons. The first is this is the advanced French defense pawn structure, but in reverse. So basically, we just have a ton of space, and he can't move these pieces to this side of the board, which
right.
means that these pieces right here can't join the attack. Now let's look a little further. The queen, you said it has many ways to get in, but if
Yeah, looks like zero actually.
if if I give white four,
Yeah,
not one, not two, four free moves, he still can't get his queen in. He would have to go one, two, three, four to get here, and he's not going to get four free moves. So there's zero
yeah,
chance that queen's joining. So after h6, attack's over, done, and you should feel super safe here, super comfortable. You have the space, you have this wedge pawn that will always allow for you to break up or attack his king at the right time, attack this pawn potentially. Um, Basically, you're super safe, and you should just, when you're determining how dangerous it is, look and see how practical it is for him to get in. Does he have any entry squares? Can you cover them? Things like that. Um, so, okay, so do you want to play h6?
um, I guess presently a nice aggressive move is bringing. Now I do have a reason to bring the bishop out. Um, it's attacking two pieces, and uh, the queen doesn't matter if it's defended. You never want to lose that. And this pawn is my bishop will be defended if he were to choose to retake. So I think that's a nice move. He can't get out of that by pushing because he loses his queen.
So, what do you think White's best response is in that position?
So if this comes here, oh right, I guess get add another defender to the pawn, and then when I take, he takes, I take, he takes, which is not good for me. Two pieces that I lose two pieces and only gain one and a pawn.
Right, so there's no particular benefit to bishop g4. He can easily block with the bishop, and again, we don't want to trade and give him a little extra space for no reason.
Right, right.
Okay, unless his bishop is going to
So
become a beast and like it's never going to happen here. It's completely useless. But in a different position, maybe they can fianchetto that piece or whatever, and it's going to become super strong. And then maybe you do want to trade that piece for that reason. But here, it's clearly not going to be a good piece, so you don't have to worry about it.
gotcha. So I guess I could look. I remember here's another little thing from videos is that like this pawn alignment shows that this is kind of where I want to be attacking. So I don't want to start looking like even without this knight here, I don't want to look at like a rook lift and coming over and doing anything. Um, is kind of what I'm thinking. So I guess without really more information of a better place for the bishop, my move is probably h6.
Okay, let's go with h6. And just for your general knowledge, like bishop d7, if you just wanted to put it there for whatever reason, just to get it out of the way, connect your rooks, it's not blocking any of your other pieces, it's protecting, and it's a solid move, you can always stick it here. You can always just wait for a better opportunity as well. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. But if for whatever reason you want to just get started on, I don't know, you wanted to do rook stuff, you could just put it here. Okay, so white says andele.
Um, yeah, so now there's a better reason to bring the bishop out because I do get a pawn. Its only defender is the queen, but I defend it. So then when he brings this out, I don't even mind retreating that and then maybe just retreating back to d7. So I've got the connected rooks. He's down a pawn. It's probably my thought on that. Another way to take is with the knight, but it's in a really good spot right now. I like where it is as a defender.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd probably have to remove it anyway once he brought his bishop out. So why not do a piece activation move?
Okay, so bishop takes, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so that makes sense. Whenever you take a pawn like this that's offered to you by your opponent, you always have to consider, do we care about rook g1? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So
right,
just like a lot of things in chess, it's case by case. You don't want to just assume these things. So because even the smallest details matter, like the only reason your king is super safe is because close center, it's the little details. So in this position, if we take here and I go here, does this alignment matter? One of the little nuances is you'll see this bishop is not targeting the pawn, creating that tactic that they always go
right.
for. Like that's the most popular thing they're going to try is to win this pawn right here. But in this case, they can't even do that. So he's really not creating threats. Now that doesn't mean you just dismiss it. But so what do you think about my move here?
Yeah, so I'm now attacked twice and only defending once. I could either defend, um, there's no threat with this rook, no immediate threat with the rook down to the king because it's not supported. Um, so with that move, instead of the bishop that he does, I don't really need to retreat it back. I could even just score another pawn with this. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Or is there a better move? Does anybody in the audience see a better move? But that's why we talk through
That's exactly why, because
it,
and
right?
it's weird because when you're in your own game, your brain does stuff like that. But when you watch someone else's game, it's
Yeah,
so much easier because you're not in your working memory. At least that's how it works for me anyway. Like when I'm watching the broadcasts of like certain chess championships and stuff, I see moves that I could never find in my own games. I'm like, Magnus, why didn't you find that? And the broadcasters are like, what's the move? And I'm like, well, it's obviously F5. And then finally they turn on the engine. They're like, engine says it's F5. And I feel like I'm the genius. And then Magnus doesn't make it, right? But then in my own games, I'm like, I'm terrible. So it's funny how that works. Any case, I'm going to take your bishop.
Oh no, my bishop.
You have to be
Yeah,
careful.
so
Chess is
now
easy to lose, even up a queen.
exactly. Oh, you're talking to the guy that loses these positions. I get it. Yeah, so immediately now, upon taking his queen and only having to give up a bishop for it, I'm entering into trade down the pieces. Any equal trade is great. Maybe some even lost exchanges are still going to be good for me. So that's where I'll start looking here. Um, like even for instance, like now is maybe not the best time, but a take isn't even bad at this point. There is a free pawn sitting here, and he doesn't really have the ability to take advantage again on this. Um, what else? I've got connected rooks. Um,
So which pieces of yours are, sitting very well right now?
oh, that's right. Yeah. So what are my best position pieces and can I improve my worst position piece? Um, I'd say the queen is doing a great job at defending, but I don't really need to be in defend mode now. So maybe trying to free her up to come in and do some damage. Um, doesn't have a lot of great squares to go. I guess a simple improving move, just like a little nudge somewhere, could be considered. Um, this is nice, but it's in a defended position right now. So doing some things to free that up. So maybe one of these moves. Oh, you can't see when I pretend to move a piece. So maybe this is good. Um,
Okay, so I want just two candidate moves total.
two candidate moves. I would say just it would be nice to get rid of this, and then I've got some connected pawns that could push up eventually, or let's improve my rook by bringing by attacking
Okay, I really,
that
really,
pawn more.
really like your move A5 a lot.
Gotcha.
I really want to show you how powerful a move like this is and how, I mean, taking the pawn's fine, but because it's not going anywhere and you just have to come back, how much like a waste of time that is compared to this, because this rook is going to be super strong once this opens up, and there's absolutely nothing he can do to stop you from opening this once you play this move. So I just really like it. So I'm going to take a
Cool.
free pawn because that's a free pawn. I'm thinking,
Yeah. So candidate move now is to get in. We like our rooks on the second rank. Um, so that's nice. I guess he has the ability to play around with it with a knight move. Um, there's also, I guess, there's a hanging pawn here,
hmm
um, which controls his really only bishop move right now. And I would trade that if I could. Um, yeah, so I guess two candidate moves would be here and here. And I think maybe I don't really see even a move that he could make in the near future that would prevent that rook. So maybe getting the pawn would be my move.
well, what if I, before you make that move, said that there was a move such as this that might.
Yeah, so he's contested me on the file, and it's a defended square with his knight, but I like trades. So then I would just go ahead and capture.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to take the pawn, and I think it's very important to notice now this knight no longer has this pawn, right?
Right. So
So
it's not.
just another thing is if you ever were to be here, even though the bishop's here, you could see how it's a lot less stable without this pawn. A lot shakier if you were ever to add pressure to it. But as long as his bishop's here, he's never really going to face problems. So you take this pawn, and now I got to get my pieces in the game. Let me go here.
Uh, yeah, I could now have an attack, a fork here, and now is at a point where I'm fine with this exchange. So it'd be basically forced. His response might be to bring the rook just to here with visibility on my rook, but it's defended. So I feel pretty good about this move.
Okay, and just for the sake of training, what would be a second candidate move?
Um, I guess we could bring the queen in and get it activated. This battery is nice. Three pieces over here is just really nice, and there's no thread over here, so I don't have to worry about that. Um, but I guess with both of those, I'd still probably prefer this.
Right, so I do like your first move, bishop b2. As far as the queen move, I'd be very cautious about walking into this bishop alignment, as again,
Yeah.
there's that tactic that we spotted before, where the knight takes, hits your queen, defense backwards. Whenever you make your move, he then takes with check, and now it's pinned, and you see the ball.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And before you know it, your positions are like, wait, what just happened? So unless you've calculated everything, don't just avoid weird alignments, with your queen. Whether
Yeah.
that's a bishop
Yeah.
there, a rook here, avoid the calculation because it takes time on your clock, and just don't set up that alignment to begin with. Sometimes it'll be the best move, but 90% of the time it will be a bad move. So don't even bother. Just play the odds. Anyway, um, so this is an annoying move, but I guess I'll go here, like you said.
Yeah, so I will hesitate on this. I'll definitely double check. The idea is I don't mind this trade. It opens up visibility on my rook, but trades are good for me again. So I think I would love that. And if he ignores that for some reason, oh wait, how about if I move slowly? If I take and then he recaptures, I have um, a view here. So the order would be I would take, he would take, I would need to recapture, and then he would then recapture. So if he foolishly recaptures early, then I've got that. So
So let's
a
just
300 level tactic.
okay, well let's improve upon it. So we take the knight, right?
Yeah,
And you said his response would be to take the rook.
correct.
Okay.
Oh, and then I can take with check.
And this benefits you by how?
Um, then he has to answer that in some way, likely by retaking, but then I recapture his rook. So I wind up with two pieces and a rook. He winds up with one piece and a rook.
Right. So take, you take. He has to respond. Black's turn obviously takes the rook. And now you're just up 10 points of material. So from a high level point of view, how confident are you in winning a position up 10 points like this?
Yeah, I would feel good about this.
Good or certain?
I would feel as certain as a 900 kid. I feel
Fair
I
enough.
would really have to do a major blunder to do this, but I wouldn't put it past me of doing it. But
Right,
this
right, right.
isn't just a couple of clever moves from white sneaking up on me level of advantage.
Right, right. But if it was just like rook and king versus king, you're 100% certain you can beat anyone in that, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so yeah, okay. I see the difference. So you win here, and I mean I gotta get this guy in the game, but he has nowhere to go. Let's go this way.
All right. Well, the nice thing that does is I was considering that this would be a good move because it would pin that bishop. Um,
That would have been a good one.
and but he's removed that, so he's decided to come play now. It has a really nice visibility down here, but it's not hitting anything. Let's see. I've got a check to win a pawn. Um, I've got the free pawn. Um, what would be a good way to trade off these pieces? I guess getting the queen, kind of, these pawns are doing a good job of preventing me from getting to like this half of the board. So I might as well take an advantage with a threat to do that, to kind of easily move over there. That's where his king is right now. So that's probably my move.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the best move. I would not concern myself with his pawns, as I'm up
Mm-hmm.
10 points of material and they have no bearing on the game anymore. Um, So I would definitely throw in this check, but only because it's either forced checkmate or forced rook trade. Now, even if you don't calculate, just because of this guy, you know he can never escape
Right,
this way. So, and if he ever goes to the
right.
back rank, at the very least you get the rook trade. So throwing in this check, I don't even know what his moves are, but I know they're not good. So that's how I look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah.
So I guess I'll pick. Mm, I don't want to blunder the rook entirely, so let me try this one.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to ignore this pawn because it's not presently threatening anything for me. Infiltration looks good. My pawn has him completely stopped here. What other ways could we try? I don't need to really worry about king activation right now because I've got the heavy pieces. So I guess maybe.
Let's say we wanted
Um,
to checkmate him. Let's say I told you we could checkmate him in, the next 10 moves if we really tried hard.
Yeah, I would say these pieces are going to be the best at that. And since I've cut him off here, let's just get the queen and the rook on the second and first rank. Let's drive the king back to one. and then either win his rook and do that.
Okay, so let's say we don't know if there's a checkmate. We have no idea, but we want to try. And hypothetically, what's the only way his king can escape?
Right now, with the alignment of my pieces, it looks like he would just have to come up this way.
Hmm. And
And
do you
so,
have
how do we cut off that
exactly?
square?
Because
Um,
even if you fail in your checkmate, who cares? You're up 10 points in material. You can win the game after that, right? If you see there's no checkmate.
right,
It's not like you're gonna lose if you don't find it. So if assume that there is one or that you're gonna look for it and hope he makes a mistake. Now we want to cut this out. There's only one way to cut it out, and that's through the diagonal.
right. So, if this pawn weren't here, then getting my queen eventually to here would be good. So, maybe if I'm given unlimited moves, I go here,
No, no, no. What about
here,
immediately?
here,
Immediately. Get on the diagonal right
immediately.
now.
Oh, just drop back or even pop over.
Yep. Now out of the two.
Oh, and don't block my rook. So it looks like yeah,
Exactly, exactly. You see,
C4 is a better
it's
move.
just like a deduction. I'm not calculating things. I'm just like trying to see, well, which one's a little more logical in words. Now, maybe that's not correct, like engine-wise, but a lot of the times I get good results with this. So,
Right.
um, because I'm not rated 3,700 and no one is. You know what I mean? Like I'm comparing
Exactly.
myself to the chess god. It doesn't make any sense. It has no relevance to me. Um,
Right.
so okay, so we're gonna go here because it looks super strong. And now I'm kind of you're kicking me back towards the right. So I go here.
Yeah. We could then start to bring the rook up, and then either of those pieces coming in is with a threat, um, and would
Perfect.
drive the king back.
A huge threat,
So I
right?
guess,
He's gonna get checkmated soon if he lets you take
yeah.
that.
So that's probably the candidate move is to bring the last piece in to start weaving the net.
Hmm. And now, is it necessary to bring in another piece? Like, do you think this is fine and we can just ignore the knight because who cares? Or are we like, we need the knight?
Um, my brain has a difficult time with knight in end games. Like I don't just naturally see the board like this, right? Or excuse me. See, I can't even draw it. So like where the knight moves and which squares it covers, and you start doing multiple moves in advance. I would say that this looks really good because now he's only got one move, and then oh, then it looks like we're at mate, right? So two moves, mate and two.
Hmm. Yep. There's, I mean, it's over for white. You don't need the knight, and even if you did want to use it, there's no way to even move it. So
Yeah,
it's my point is like people will tell you use your whole army, and of course that's true when you're building up your city and getting ready to go to war. But if the checkmate's on the board, I mean, don't just make random developing moves. Just checkmate the guy, right? So
right.
okay, so it's white, and technically I'm in a world of hurt, so I'm gonna push this guy.
Gotcha. So do some calculation. Can that get down here in time? But it can't because all of my remaining moves come with check. So I would take on C2 with the queen.
Okay, I have one legal move.
And I have a couple of fun checkmates. I guess I've got three.
Yep.
I would probably just continue the ladder.
Well, you had four, but so you've got three
Oh,
of the four. So highlight all four. Go back and highlight all four.
all right. So we'll do that one was obvious. And then I've got here and I've not here yet. So here does this bring us? It doesn't because you can move. So again, here,
Hmm.
here,
Yep. Yep.
here,
Just
oh,
one
here.
more. Exactly. And even though it seems inconsequential, that little
There will be
difference.
times where it does matter.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, there'll be times where that's the only winning move. So that's why it's just
Yeah.
important to spot. Okay. That worked out really well. The only last thing I wanted to show you now is the boulder concept that I
Right.
made up.
I've heard that a couple times in your videos, and I thought it was a really good visualization.
Just because, oops, in the French, like if we were gonna play a game for $10 million and I said we're gonna play on a chessboard, but no one's allowed to use these squares, but I'm gonna get the white pieces, are you okay with that? I mean, inherently, what's your answer?
Yeah, those uh, spaces that my pawns are on are in my half, and they're gone. But also then there's, I guess, three squares, including two in the middle on my side, that no one can use, and he's only losing one square on his side. So that seems like an advantage for white.
And it actually, the example I'm giving is way worse than actual chess. In the example I'm giving, I'm saying these are unusable squares by both sides, completely blacked out, completely boulders. That's not how chess works. These aren't actual boulders,
Right.
these are pawns. You can take them. So, assuming these are invincible units that cannot be captured, moved, touched, or anything, this has to be a gigantic advantage for this side with the extra squares. The only reason the French is playable is because in reality these are not invincible. These can absolutely be undermined with c5 and f6, which is the whole idea of the French. So, but my point is, conceptually, when you realize that if you get positions where you can push past in certain ways that they do become invincible, space becomes a win condition on its own. And your opponents will let you get this structure all of the time. All of the
Mhm.
time. They in not just in French, in all positions, they will let you push this pawn to e5 and kick their knight for whatever reason. And all you need to remember is this little structure. And you could play it in like this. You create this little pawn chain, you put your bishop on its favorite square aiming at their king. Your knight's there to hop in one day, protected by your bishop, your queen. It's just like the first starting move of an opening. It's nothing special, but it's super simple. It's like easy to remember. Your pawns are on dark, your light is on light. Everything aims towards this king. I don't know. It's easy. I'm not saying to go for this or anything. I just went off on a tangent. The whole thing is basically space is super important. So when you have this, try to maintain it with things like c3, things like knight out, because if you can keep these pawns and make them invincible, you can win the game with that. And in contrast, if you're on the other side, you want to demolish the center as fast as possible and destroy it. Because once you can accomplish that, you immediately equalize the game. That's what it means when they say that stuff. Um,
Gotcha.
any random questions? Because I know I kind of just say random things.
I just think with your boulder analogy, in addition to it taking up space, it seems to blend well with the ideas that like pawns are the only pieces that can't move backwards. So um, that second part, like defending those pawns because they got up there, but now, right, can
Mm-hmm.
black come around from behind or attack it from the angle? But also since pawns can't move backwards, that gives them that kind of that cemented in place analogy. And you can defend a pawn with a pawn as a really solid structure.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Depending on how many you push, you can always basically maintain it. Um, if you want to be safe, it's always safe to play with the pieces, not the pawns. So even if you don't create such a structure, if you don't want to go for the space, then play with your pieces. So if your opponent does random stuff, bring a piece out. They do random stuff, bring a piece out. They do random stuff, we don't address it, right? We bring a piece out. They do something, we bring a piece out. They take, we're forced to take. They do something, we build up our position. They do something, we build up our position. They do something, we build up our position. And then we prepare, like we did in the game we just played, to make our rook super strong or to lift our queen a little bit. And we build up our city. until our rooks are connected. Once our rooks are connected and we have that line of communication, we could think about entering our opponent's side of the board. That's a
Right.
very simple way to look at it, and it's not so hard because in the opening you have so many different moves to build up your position. Depending on what your opponent does, if he attacks something, well then you choose the thing that defends it. Like that's all it is. And if he does random stuff that's meaningless, then you choose your favorite, the most active option. So the opening is actually the easiest phase of the game because you can't really go wrong as long as you do something logical. So if you like the Philidor setup, and I don't know, even if you're white and you do something like this, even if you don't want to play principled and put two pawns in the center and you do something like this, which is not the best move, but playable, even though it blocks your bishop, even though it doesn't gain space, as long as you create, the most important thing is having one pawn for the presence, and then you need at least one square for your minor pieces. This is the opening. You need to find a good location for all four of these. It it doesn't matter what your opponent does. If you get a good space, a position for these, a good square for these pieces, you will always not have opening problems. You'll always be fine. The whole battle of opening theory is white trying to give black one bad piece. Just one problem developing this light square bishop in a lot of the cases. Sometimes it's this knight, like in the caro-kann, because you play c6, so it doesn't get out easily. And that's white just trying to make it a little hard for black to get out. But if you have a good square for all these, even if your pawns are kind of passive, you'll be perfectly fine. And that's why the caro-kann works very well, because you can always get your pieces to really good squares. You get your bishop here, right? And then you can solidify it. So now, for the rest of the game, you've solved the problem with this piece. It has a good home, whatever. Oftentimes, you can, oh, it's not my move. Whatever, random stuff, random stuff. Eventually, later in the game, you push this, he takes, you take, he does something. You put this here. Like, as long as your pieces have squares, even if you're kind of cramped or don't have a lot of space, you're always going to be fine. Because the most important thing in chess is piece activity, and the pawn's primary function is to collaborate with the pieces to give it mobility. And it's just different words for the same thing. Piece activity is piece mobility, is piece pressure, is piece influence. It's all the same thing. And one of the funniest things about chess is the square the piece is on is the only square it doesn't control.
Right.
Which is why sometimes a knight in the center is not as good as a knight that controls the center from a more normal square. But that's case by case. All right. That's all I got for you now.
Well, thanks for the time today. That was awesome. A really good learning experience.
Oh, sorry it took so long. I didn't realize. Oof. Okay. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful. Um, I recorded last time and my video got super destroyed, so I couldn't post it. I think it's because I was trying to stream at the same time. So tonight I'm not streaming, so hopefully the recording's not messed up. We'll find out soon.
Sounds cool.
All right, Mike. Nice talking to you in person, and keep working on your chess.
I'll do it.
I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Good night.